everyone, I am Lydia from Novelty and welcome to 2018. I'm so excited because last year I did something that I've previously only dreamed of doing, and that is I read 52 nonfiction books in 52 weeks. Now, I didn't start out planning to be like, oh, I'll read a nonfiction book for every week of the year. But around May, I realized I was so close to being on track that I just read really quickly and caught up. And then after that, I was like, no, I'm not going to keep up with that. But then around October or November, I realized that once again, I was only a few books away from being on track. So I caught up and then stayed on course since then, and it was a lot of fun. Now, I do have to say that some of those books were a lot shorter than the general fiction book that I read. But hey, I still learned from them, and I still read them, and I still reviewed them on Goodreads, if not on my blog, so they count. It's really cool because reading those nonfiction books actually got my average rating higher on Goodreads because I review a lot. I review all the books I read, and most of them, unfortunately, go to 3 stars. That's just my default. I try not to, but it always happens. But with nonfiction, I normally go to 4 stars because I have a lot more leeway in my heart and in my mind, whatever, for nonfiction books because I'm like, you know what? The characters didn't decide to do those. So therefore, my average rating for nonfiction was 4 stars instead of 3 stars. Altogether, with my nonfiction books, I had 3 2-star reads, 8 3-star reads, 32 4-star reads, and 9 5-star reads, which 9 5-star reads is just mind-blowing to me because I do not give 5 stars easily. So yeah, you can see I read a whole bunch of really great books since over 40 of them were in the 4 or 5-star range. I'm pretty impressed with that, and I'm so thankful for the authors who provided these books, and I thought it would be fun to talk about a few of the books and things I learned from them. Today I'm going to try going for books that I have not talked about on this channel yet, so they're not necessarily my top books from the year, but they're ones that I really appreciated that I have not highlighted before. The first one is The 5 Love Languages for Singles by Gary Chapman, and this is the first time I read this edition of the book, but I have read other forms of the 5 love languages, and it totally changed my life. I did not realize how different people reacted and different people felt loved, and so when I learned this, I come from a big family, and so we all relate to each other differently, and when I learned how to relate to various siblings of mine and to my parents and to my friends, it literally changed the outlook I had on the people closest to me in the world. So therefore, I highly recommend this book, and if you have issues with any relationships, or if you don't feel loved, or if you're just struggling to figure out how to relate to someone, y'all should read this book. You totally should read it. The next one is Forensic Faith by J. Warner Wallace, and I can't recommend this one highly enough. It is a cold case detective who goes through Christianity and the Bible the same way he goes through his cold cases. And he's been a detective for 30 years. I'm not really sure. But he brings in all the different ways that you test and verify and go through things. And I was so impressed and learned so much. And speaking about it makes me think, okay, I need to reread this book because it was that amazing. So if you have questions about Christianity or about the Bible in general, or even if you just want to learn and grow, you should totally read that book because he goes from being an atheist to being a staunch believer after going through the Bible the way he goes through his other cases. And the last book I'm going to highlight today is a 4-star read instead of a 5-star read, and it's She's Got the Wrong Guy. I went into this book not really knowing what to expect, and I found myself being like, yes, thank you so much. The author is a guy, so that's also like, okay. I was thinking, you're going to have to be really careful how you write this book in such a way that you're not going to offend people since it's written for women about what they're doing wrong. But it wasn't focused on what they're doing wrong. It was, I don't know how to describe it except to say he did it with such a loving attitude and such a gracious spirit that I didn't feel at all like he was like, oh, you guys are doing something wrong. Although obviously we do stuff wrong. It was more like him saying, hey, there's a bunch of jerks out there, and I don't want you to get stuck with a jerk just because you want to get married. So here are some things to look for and some things not to do and some mindset changes you might want to make. And I was like, yeah, you were totally right. So yes, another book I highly recommend. And that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I do not have any goals for how many nonfiction books I'll read in 2018. I've already started one that's really good, but we'll just have to see where it goes because, yeah, I don't plan on reading 52 more books this year or 52 more nonfiction books. But that's it for today, folks. Have fun and have a blessed 2018.